Hey nerds, and welcome back to episode 8 of this Traffic Lights series, a series that never ends. Well, it does. This will be the final episode. And for this last episode, I tried to keep it a bit light. I don't want to introduce some new programming techniques here, something crazy stuff here. This is more about housekeeping. This is how to keep your code a bit clean, how to organize your code. And there are some functions in the Arduino IDE that really helps for that. Let me show you. Let's have a look through our code. Well, I'll do the folding thing here. This is the declaration of our array. Here is the sequencer itself. This is the initialization. And of course, setup and loop. We can't do anything about setup and loop. Setup and loop is Arduino, so we'll have to keep those two. So now let's see how long this all is. This is 47 lines of code right now. Of course, 47 lines isn't that much, and this is pretty much readable. If you do the folder stuff over here, you can pretty much tell when is what happening here. You simply look at setup and look at loop. Of course, we have a very simple project over here, because we only have one thing the whole CPU does. There's nothing complicated here. There's not a second sensor, there's not a display, there's not some input-output stuff going on. There's no Wi-Fi going on. If you have a ESP8266 or ESP32, there would be maybe Wi-Fi and some initialization for the Wi-Fi and things for the Wi-Fi, and you get my drift. So imagine a big project that reaches 1,000 lines. There's nothing more you can do for folding this stuff. This will get unreadable. You have to scroll all day long, because no matter how hard you try, no matter how meaningful function names you use, you will have a problem with where did I wrote that? Where did I put that? So we need ways to structure this thing. There's a pretty easy way to do this in the Arduino IDE, and you maybe have seen those before, because it's an include with a fence in front of it. I have no clue what this thing is called. Write in the comments. I'll call this fence for now. So include is a compiler directive. This tells the compiler there's a file with a name something. I'll type this in a second, and simply put the content of this file right here where the include statement is. So if I'll do stuff.h here, it would search for a file called stuff.h and put the content over here. This sounds totally trivial, right? But it helps so much in structuring stuff in here. Looking at our little code, we have two stages here that we want to keep somewhat organized. So there would be a stage, call it include, say, pin declarations.h. And while we're on it, let's do a second one. And this would be called include, and this would be our Traffic Lights.h. Where are they coming from and how do I get them? All right, this is maybe something you never did before, so follow me on that one. I'll do a copy of that stuff over here because I'm lazy and I don't want to have a typo in here, because I don't have one. I go over here and there's a thing that's called new tab. Click that, and down here where it's turned yellow right now, name for new file, I simply Control V, paste my thing I just copied, and do OK. And by the pure magic of programming, pin declarations H appears right here. Let me do this for traffic lights too. So let me grab this thing, copy, move over to the little arrow pointing down, new tab, and Control V over here, and OK. It is the same in IDE 2.0 something. There's a little arrow over there too, and you can do the same. This works in every version of the IDE, and this is really important. Now we have these two declarations flying around over here, and now I can go in, can over and go copy stuff. The first thing I want to do, I want to copy my pin declarations. I grab my pin declarations right here and move them over here, and save the stuff, and I'll compile it just now for fun and see if it still works. Complain about anything, so we did right. And yeah, my little traffic light over there is still blinking. Nice. So what did we achieve here? we moved our pin declarations into something where pin declarations are happening. This isn't really helpful for our project, I know that. But if we have more pin declarations over here, say you have the connection for the define temp sense, and it would be pin A7, and you have a connection for, I have no clue what you want to connect there, button, so but, and this we should type define over here, and then but, and this would be pin 8, stuff like that. You put all your pin declarations over here. The big upside is, if you want to know where the pin declarations are in, say, half a year, you simply check over here, and you know where your pin declarations are. This is easy because you find it again. And even if you don't know what you're looking for, pin declarations is such a descriptive name. It's very obvious what's in this file. So pin declarations probably contain the pin declaration. So keep it descriptive. The next thing I want to do is grab everything that belongs to the traffic lights. So the array and the sequencer and the initializing phase over here. I'll grab this with Control X and go over to traffic lights and drop this over here. Yeah, and you know it unfolded. That's fine. I'll give this a comment because I can, and this would be a boring comment. You can type in anything you like. I'll simply go for drop everything that's with the traffic lights in here. So I'll know what to do. Everything what's anything to do with the traffic lights, I'll drop in here. So save this, go back over here. And wow, my program suddenly looks like this. Even if I unfold this stuff here, this is very, very readable. Traffic lights in it and traffic light sequencer, I think. And since I see, oh, there's a include that's called traffic lights, I'll probably find my functions for that in traffic lights. Again, for our project, this is on the edge if it's really usable, if it's needed for that. All right, I have one more thing that I want to show you. You have to decide if you need that. I'll think it's helpful, and I'll show you why. Let me do that. I'll go back to my traffic lights H over here, and if I look at the titles of the functions over here, it always starts with traffic lights somewhere here, and the sequencer and the init, that's probably init traffic lights. And you see there's a pattern there, and a pattern I didn't follow to the letter. There's always somewhere traffic lights in there. Sometimes I type traffic lights, sometimes I type traffic light. Let me introduce you to another nifty C thing that's called namespace. And since we are in traffic lights.h, I'll give this a name that's called traffic lights with a big L, and use a opening bracket over here. And I want to copy this thing. Copy, yeah, you know I'm lazy. And I have my reason to be lazy, and there's a closing tab. And since I can't describe what this closing bracket is for, I simply get a comment and paste traffic lights beyond it. So this way I know this is the traffic lights namespace. So what does this do? For anything inside the namespace, nothing changes. This is simply fine. You can compile this. This will still work. From outside the namespace, every function we call in here and every variable now has a construct like, let me show you that. Lights, column, and then variable for that. And of course, for a function that would be function. Of course, you should write this the right way. Yeah, from the outside, we still can call this, but we always have this in front. Well, wait, why do we want to type even more stuff? Because now we have traffic lights every time in front of every variable and every function. Let me do some cleanup here. I'll speed it up a bit because you don't want to see me typing here. And I'll show you how it looks when it's done. So the compiler is happy with me. That's nice to know. Let me explain how this works. Every function call we do in here, this one and this one, I know these are only the two ones, always start with the word traffic lights and the double column over here. And since I know I have a header file over here that's called traffic lights too, it's pretty self-explanatory that everything that starts with traffic lights is probably located in the file traffic lights. Well, that's a no-brainer when you think of it. Over here inside the namespace, there's no traffic lights in front of it because I don't need this. If I want to address this array from the outside, I go traffic lights, column, face, binary. If I want to address sequencer async, we just saw that traffic lights, column, sequencer async. If I want to address the init phase over here, I go traffic lights, column, init. You know the drill. So this namespace thing is a pretty nifty way to group all your functions together in a really structured way that helps you a lot if you have to look at code that you written half a year ago, that you written a year ago. This way, it is very structured and it's easy to read. And it comes down to exactly this when we talk about good code. You have to be able to read and understand it, even if it's a year ago. Maybe you want to show your code to a friend, and if you have to explain a lot before he understands a bit of it, you maybe want to think about restructuring your code. For our little example, namespaces may be overkill, but remember, projects tend to grow. So if in the future you have to include the temperature control for your flux compensator, temp control flux comp.h, of course, there's an easy way to do that, and don't forget the namespace with a temp control flux comp. What? You still don't have a flux compensator? You guys. So I'll leave you with that, and I think a lot of things to think about. I would be really glad if you find a bit of time and type in the comments what you think about this little series about making code maybe better. I'm open to suggestions what the next project should be. Just drop me a line, tell me, oh, we want to know about this, we want to know about that. That would help me greatly for making content for you guys. Anyways, as always, as Karl Broflovsky says, I hope you learned something today. And you guys, keep hacking. See you in the next one.